Admiral Zektar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the empty space around Kepler 442. His 6 eyes moved across the display screens that showed 12 Vorthok warships hidden in the asteroid field. Each ship waited in silence, their dark hulls blending with the floating rocks that circled the distant planet. How long until the humans arrive? Zektar asked his second-in-command, Commander Yith. Our scouts report their ship will drop out of hyperspace in 20 minutes, Yithkar replied. His insect-like mandibles clicked together as he spoke. The vessel is called the HFY Discovery. Intelligence says it carries only 200 crew members and has minimal weapons. Zektar's compound eyes gleamed with satisfaction. For months, the Vorthok Confederacy had been watching human ships spread across the galaxy. The humans were expanding fast, too fast for the comfort of older alien races. But they seemed to make the same mistake over and over again. They sent small ships with few guards into dangerous space. Perfect, Zektar said. Today we will show these upstart humans that they cannot simply take whatever systems they want. The bridge around him buzzed with quiet activity. Vorthok officers worked at their stations, preparing weapons and checking systems. The air smelled of the chemical compounds that his species breathed, mixed with the metallic scent of the ship's machinery. Zektar had fought in many battles during his long career. He had defeated the crystal beings of Andromeda 7 and crushed the rebellion on Tau Ceti. But humans were different. They were new to space travel, having only developed faster-than-light engines 50 years ago. Yet they had already claimed dozens of star systems and built colonies faster than any species in recorded history. What do we know about their technology? Zektar asked. Yithkar pulled up a holographic display, showing human ship designs. Their hulls are made of steel and titanium alloys, primitive but effective. They use nuclear fusion for power and kinetic weapons for combat. Nothing we cannot handle with our ion cannons. Zektar nodded. The Vorthok had been traveling between stars for over 3,000 years. Their weapons could disable any ships, electrical systems from a great distance. Their armor could withstand most attacks. Against a single human exploration vessel, victory was certain. Remember, Zektar said to his crew, we want prisoners, high-ranking officers who can tell us about Earth's military capabilities. The ship itself will provide valuable technology samples. On the tactical display, red dots marked the positions of his ships. They formed a loose circle around the area where the human vessel would appear. Each ship captain knew the plan. Wait for the humans to enter the system. Let them move toward the planet. Then strike from all sides with ion weapons to disable their engines and communications. Sir, called the communications officer. Long-range sensors detect a hyperspace distortion forming. All ships, prepare for battle, Zektar ordered. Maintain stealth positions until my command. The space in front of them began to twist and bend. Bright flashes of light appeared as reality tore open. Then, with a brilliant flash, a human starship dropped out of hyperspace and into normal space. The HFY Discovery was smaller than most Vorthok warships, but it looked solid and well-built. Its white and blue hull gleamed under the light of the system's orange star. The ship moved forward slowly, its engines glowing with blue energy. They are scanning the system, reported the sensor operator. Standard exploration pattern. They show no signs of detecting our presence. Zektar watched the human ship approach. Soon, it would be too far into the system to escape. His trap was perfect. The humans had no idea that death waited for them among the asteroids. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel, the communications officer announced. Put it on speakers, Zektar commanded. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking in their strange language. The translation computer quickly converted the words. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the HFY Discovery. We are beginning scientific surveys of the Kepler 442 system. Any vessels in the area, please identify yourselves. Zektar's mandibles clicked in amusement. The humans were actually announcing their presence, making no effort to hide. They truly believed this system was empty and safe. How refreshingly naive, Yithkar commented. The Discovery continued its approach toward the planet. Its sensors swept back and forth, but they were looking for mineral deposits and signs of life, not hidden warships. The human crew had no idea. They were flying into a carefully planned ambush. Distance to target, Zektar asked. 15,000 kilometers, and closing, came the reply. Zektar studied the human ship more carefully. It carried several small shuttles, and what appeared to be scientific equipment, perfect for capturing intact. The crew would provide excellent intelligence about human military plans and technology. All ships report ready, Yithkar announced. Excellent. Zektar placed his clawed hands on the command console. Today marks the beginning of the end for human expansion. When Earth learns that their precious exploration vessel has been captured, they will think twice about sending ships into alien space. The Discovery moved deeper into the system, following a path that would take it close to the planet's largest moon. Zektar's ships tracked its every movement, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Target is now at optimal range, the weapons officer reported. All ships have clear firing solutions. Zektar raised his primary arm. Around him, the bridge crew tensed. This was the moment they had planned for. The moment when the humans would learn that the galaxy was not theirs for the taking. All ships, he commanded into his communicator. Begin the attack. Disable their engines and communications. Take them alive. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery, watching the orange star grow larger on the main screen. The Kepler 442 system looked peaceful and empty, just as their intelligence reports had predicted. But Morrison knew better than to trust appearances in space. Any contacts on sensors? He asked Lieutenant Commander Ben Hayes, his tactical officer. Nothing yet, sir, Hayes replied, his fingers dancing across his control panel. But if they're here, they're hiding well. Morrison nodded. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm blue eyes that had seen many dangerous situations. His crew trusted him completely, and he had never lost a ship or failed a mission in 15 years of command. Dr. Amy Collins approached from her science station. She was young, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. Captain, I'm reading some interesting mineral deposits on the third planet. Should we move in for a closer look? By all means, Doctor, Morrison said with a slight smile. After all, we're here to do science. The bridge crew chuckled at his tone. They all knew this mission was about much more than collecting rock samples. Communications Officer Tony Rodriguez caught Morrison's eye and nodded slightly. The coded military signals hidden in their regular transmissions were working perfectly. Rodriguez was a thin man with dark hair and quick hands. He had been sending secret messages since they entered the system. To anyone listening, it sounded like normal scientific chatter between the ship and its research teams. But embedded in the data streams were coordinates and status reports that painted a very different picture. Navigation, set course for the third planet, Morrison ordered. Nice and slow. We want to get good readings on everything. Navigator Sarah Kim typed in the course change. She was Korean-American with long black hair tied back in a professional bun. Her steady hands guided the Discovery toward what appeared to be certain doom. Sir, Hayes said quietly, I'm picking up some anomalous readings in the asteroid field. Could be natural, but, ... But you don't think so? Morrison finished. No, sir, I don't. Morrison walked to Hayes' station and looked at the sensor display. 12 faint contacts showed in the asteroid belt, barely visible against the background radiation. To most crews, they would look like nothing more than large rocks. But Morrison's people were trained to spot the difference. Well, Morrison said softly. Looks like our friends decided to show up after all. Dr. Collins moved closer, pretending to examine scientific data while actually studying the tactical display. 12 ships, she whispered, just like intelligence predicted. Morrison returned to his command chair and sat down calmly. Around him, his crew continued their normal duties. To any outside observer, they appeared to be a typical exploration vessel, completely unaware of the danger surrounding them, but appearances could be deceiving. Chief Engineer Ryan Murphy was already at work in the lower decks, preparing systems that didn't appear on any official ship blueprints. Hidden throughout the Discovery were weapons, shields, and communication arrays that would surprise anyone who tried to capture the vessel. "Sir," Rodriguez said from his station, "I'm detecting movement in the asteroid field. Multiple contacts, breaking concealment." "Here we go," Morrison said under his breath. Then, louder, "All hands, this is the captain. We may be about to encounter some unexpected company. Remain calm and follow standard procedures." The bridge lights suddenly dimmed as 12 alien warships emerged from hiding. They were dark, angular vessels with insect-like curves and weapon ports that glowed with purple energy. The ships moved with practiced precision, surrounding the Discovery in a perfect attack formation. "Vorthok Confederacy vessels," Hayes reported. "Ion cannon signatures match intelligence files. They're charging weapons." "Maintain course and speed," Morrison ordered. "Let them think we're sitting ducks." The alien ships opened fire simultaneously. Purple beams of energy lanced out from their weapons, striking the Discovery's hull. The bridge shook slightly, but not from damage. The ship's experimental shield generators absorbed the ion energy and converted it directly into power for their systems. "Shields holding," Hayes reported with a grin. "In fact, we're now running at 120% power efficiency." Morrison allowed himself a small smile. The Vorthok were about to get the surprise of their lives. "Rodriguez, send the signal," he ordered. "Yes, sir." Rodriguez typed a complex sequence into his console. A single burst transmission shot out from the Discovery into deep space. To the aliens, it would look like a desperate distress call. In reality, it was something much more dangerous. The Vorthok ships moved closer, probably preparing to board. Their ion weapons continued firing, but the Discovery absorbed every shot. Sarah Kim piloted the ship through the asteroid field with expert skill, making it look like they were trying to escape while actually moving into the perfect position. "Sir," Dr. Collins said, checking her instruments, "I'm detecting massive hyperspace distortions forming throughout the system." Morrison stood up and straightened his uniform. "Ladies and gentlemen, I believe our backup has arrived." On the main screen, space itself began to tear open in dozens of places. Bright flashes of light appeared as hyperspace windows opened one after another. The Vorthok ships stopped their attack, turning their sensors toward the new arrivals. "Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace," Hayes announced, his voice filled with excitement. "I count, ... Holy hell, sir. One count 147 vessels. It's the 5th Armada." The bridge erupted in cheers as Earth's most powerful military fleet materialized around them. Massive dreadnoughts appeared alongside fast attack cruisers and nimble destroyers. At the center of the formation was the flagship UES Valiant, its white hull gleaming with weapon ports and shield generators. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan aboard the EU's Valiant," came a voice over the communication system. "Sorry we're late to the party, Jake. Looks like you've been having fun without us." Morrison activated his reply channel. "Always a pleasure, Admiral. Our guests seem a bit surprised to see you." The Vorthok ships had stopped dead in space. Their perfect ambush had just become a death trap, and they knew it. Where moments before they had outnumbered the humans 12-1, they were now facing odds of more than 10-1 against them. "I think it's time to drop the act," Morrison said to his crew. "All hands, this is the captain. Execute battle stations. Show our visitors what the Discovery can really do." Hidden panels slid open across the ship's hull, revealing missile launchers and plasma cannons that had been disguised as sensor arrays. The ship's profile changed as armor plating extended and weapon systems came online. Dr. Collins smiled as she activated systems that had nothing to do with collecting rock samples. The mild-mannered science officer was actually a trained intelligence operative, and her equipment was designed for electronic warfare, not geology. The trap was sprung. The hunters had become the hunted. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the command deck of the EU's Valiant, watching her fleet take position around the alien vessels. The massive bridge stretched out before her, filled with dozens of officers working at stations that controlled the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. "Fleet status report," she ordered. "All 147 vessels report ready for combat," replied her second-in-command, Captain Lisa Park. "Attack formations Alpha through Delta are in position. The enemy is completely surrounded." Sullivan nodded with satisfaction. She was a tall woman with silver hair and sharp gray eyes that had earned respect throughout the Earth Defense Force. In her 30 years of service, she had never lost a battle, and she wasn't planning to start today. "Sir," called intelligence. Officer Danny Foster, from his station. "I'm reading 12 Vorthok heavy cruisers. They match the ships we've been tracking for the past 3 weeks." "Perfect," Sullivan said. "Just as our intelligence predicted, the Vorthok took the bait exactly as planned. The plan had been months in the making. Earth's spy networks had detected Vorthok movement near human space, and military analysts had predicted they would attempt an ambush. The Discovery's mission had been designed to draw them out into the open, where they could be dealt with properly." "Admiral," came Captain Morrison's voice over the communication system. "The aliens seemed to be having second thoughts about their attack." Sullivan looked at the tactical display showing the Vorthok ships. They had stopped firing and were now grouped together in a defensive formation. Their purple glowing weapons were still charged, but they weren't moving to attack or retreat. "They're probably trying to decide whether to fight or run," Captain Park observed. "Let's help them make that decision," Sullivan said. She activated the fleet communication channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. Execute combat formation Omega. I want every weapon in this fleet aimed at those 12 ships." Across the system, the human armada moved with precise coordination. Massive dreadnoughts took up positions that blocked any escape routes. Fast attack cruisers spread out to prevent the aliens from hiding in the asteroid field again. Destroyers and frigates formed a tight inner ring around the Vorthok vessels. The EU's Valiant moved to the center of the formation, its weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. The flagship was twice the size of any Vorthok vessel, and its armament could destroy entire planets if necessary. "Sir," reported Weapons Officer Michelle Taylor, "all fleet weapons are locked onto targets. We have enough firepower focused on those ships to vaporize a small moon." Sullivan opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. "Vorthok vessels, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. You are surrounded and outgunned. I am offering you one chance to surrender peacefully." The response came quickly in the clicking, buzzing language of the Vorthok species. The ship's translation computer converted it to English. "Human Admiral, I am Zektar of the Vorthok Confederacy. You cannot have appeared so quickly. This is impossible." "Nothing is impossible when you plan ahead," Sullivan replied. "We've been tracking your movements for weeks. Did you really think we would send our ships into hostile space without backup?" On the main screen, she could see the alien flagship more clearly. It was a dark, angular vessel covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Its insect-like design was both beautiful and threatening, but it looked small and fragile compared to the human dreadnoughts surrounding it. "Sir," Danny Foster reported, "our electronic warfare systems are detecting frantic communications between the alien ships. They're trying to coordinate some kind of response." "Jam their communications," Sullivan ordered. "I don't want them planning anything together." Chief Engineer Ryan Murphy had transferred to the Valiant weeks ago to oversee the fleet's electronic warfare capabilities. His fingers flew over his control panel as he activated jamming systems across the entire Armada. Communications jamming in effect, Murphy announced. The alien ships can no longer coordinate with each other. Sullivan watched as the formation began to break apart. Without communication, each ship captain was making independent decisions. Some turned toward the fleet, preparing to fight. Others began moving toward the edge of the system, hoping to escape. Admiral Zekitar Sullivan said into the communication channel, "Your ships are operating independently now. Some want to fight. Others want to run. I suggest you make a decision quickly before this situation gets out of hand." "We will not surrender to primitive humans," came the angry reply. "The Vorthok Confederacy does not yield to inferior species." Sullivan sighed. She had hoped to end this without bloodshed, but some aliens never learned until they were taught the hard way. "All ships," she ordered, "prepare for combat. Target their weapons and engines only. I want prisoners, not debris." The space around Kepler 442 lit up with weapon fire. Human plasma cannons and particle beams lanced out toward the alien vessels. But this wasn't a battle of destruction. Earth's military had learned to fight with precision. Commander Chris Baker led a squadron of stealth fighters that appeared and disappeared around the alien ships like ghosts. His pilots used advanced cloaking technology to strike at specific targets, disabling weapon systems without destroying entire vessels. "Direct hit on the flagship's main weapon array," reported one of Baker's pilots. "Their ion cannons are offline." "Good work," Sullivan replied. "Continue targeting their weapons systems." The Vorthok ships tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed. Human shields absorbed their attacks while precise return fire disabled their ability to strike back. Within minutes, half the alien fleet was drifting helplessly with destroyed engines and weapons. "Sir," Michelle Taylor announced, "two enemy vessels are attempting to self-destruct rather than surrender. Beam them into containment," Sullivan ordered. "Don't let them take the easy way out." Advanced transporter technology pulled the crews off the self-destructing ships moments before they exploded. The aliens found themselves in holding cells aboard human vessels, very much alive and very much prisoners. Admiral called communications specialist Laura Jenkins. "One of the alien ships is trying to escape. Should we pursue?" Sullivan looked at the tactical display. A single Vorthok vessel was racing toward the edge of the system, its engines running at maximum power. "Let it go," she said. Captain Park looked surprised. "Sir, we want that ship too." "Escape," Sullivan explained. "Let it carry word back to the Confederacy about what happened here. Sometimes the best weapon is fear." Within 30 minutes, the battle was over. 9 Vorthok ships had been captured intact. 2 had been destroyed by their own crews. 1 had escaped to spread the news of humanity's true military power. The ambush that was supposed to show human weakness had instead revealed human strength, and now the galaxy would know that Earth's explorers were protected by one of the most powerful military forces in known space. The battle for Kepler 442 had lasted less than 30 minutes, but those 30 minutes changed everything. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched from the bridge of the UES Valiant as her fleet moved to secure the captured alien vessels. What had begun as a Vorthok ambush was now a complete human victory. "Damage report," she ordered. "Minimal damage across the fleet," reported Captain Lisa Park. 3 ships report minor hull breaches from enemy fire. No casualties. All systems operating at full capacity. Sullivan nodded with satisfaction. The new shield technology had worked perfectly, absorbing most of the alien attacks. The few shots that got through had struck reinforced armor sections that could handle the impact. "What about the prisoners?" she asked. "We have approximately 800 Vorthok crew members in custody," replied Security Chief Kelly Wright. They're being held in secure containment areas aboard various ships. Most are cooperating, but a few are still trying to resist. Right? Was a tough woman with short red hair and muscles that showed years of military training. Her Marines had boarded the alien ships with precision, capturing crews before they could destroy important equipment or data. Any injuries during the boarding operations? None on our side, Wright said proudly. We used sleep, gas, and stun weapons. The aliens are unconscious, but unharmed. They'll wake up with headaches and damaged pride, nothing more. Admiral Sullivan turned to look at the main screen, where the captured Vorthok ships floated under heavy guard. Each alien vessel was surrounded by human destroyers, their weapons trained on any sign of movement. Boarding teams were already at work, studying alien technology and securing valuable intelligence. "Sir," called Intelligence Officer Danny Foster, "we're getting interesting data from the alien computer systems. Their navigation logs show they've been watching our shipping routes for months. This ambush was part of a larger plan to attack human colonies." "What kind of larger plan?" Sullivan asked. Foster pulled up holographic displays, showing star charts and tactical data. According to their files, the Vorthok Confederacy was preparing to launch coordinated attacks on 7 human systems. They wanted to capture our ships and study our technology before making a full military strike. Sullivan studied the alien battle plans with growing concern. The attack on the Discovery was just the beginning. If the Vorthok had succeeded here, hundreds of thousands of human colonists would have been in danger. "How many ships were they planning to use for these attacks?" she asked. "Over 200 vessels, sir. 3 full battle fleets spread across multiple systems. They were going to hit us all at once, before we could coordinate a response." Captain Park whistled softly. "They really thought we were weak and unprepared." "They thought wrong," Sullivan said grimly. "Foster, send this intelligence to Fleet Command immediately. We need to warn all human colonies about possible Vorthok activity in their sectors." "Already on it, sir," Foster replied, his fingers flying over his console. The communication officer, Laura Jenkins, looked up from her station. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the captured Vorthok flagship. Admiral Zektar wants to speak with you." "Put him on screen," Sullivan ordered. The main display changed to show the interior of the alien ship's bridge. Admiral Zek stood in chains, surrounded by human Marines. His 6 compound eyes glared with hatred, and his insect-like mandibles clicked angrily as he spoke. "Human Admiral," his translated voice said, "you may have won this battle, but the Confederacy will not forget this humiliation. We will return with larger fleets and better weapons." Sullivan studied the alien commander for a moment before responding, "Admiral Zekita, I don't think you understand your situation. Your government sent you here to test human military capabilities. Well, congratulations. You've learned exactly what we're capable of." "This was a trap," Zektar accused. "You knew we were coming." "Of course we knew," Sullivan replied calmly. "We've been tracking your movements for weeks. Did you really think you could spy on human space without us noticing? Our intelligence networks detected your ships the moment they entered this sector." The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly in what looked like distress. "Impossible. Our stealth technology is superior to anything humans possess." Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system from the Discovery. "Admiral, if I may interrupt, we've been monitoring Vorthok communications since they first approached our territory. Their encryption codes are actually quite simple to break once you understand their language patterns." Zektar's compound eyes widened in shock. "You can read our military communications." "We can read everything," Sullivan said. "Tactical plans, fleet movements, supply routes, even personal messages between crew members. Your security is full of holes." The alien admiral seemed to deflate slightly. His proud posture slumped as he realized the full extent of human intelligence capabilities. "What do you want?" he asked finally. Sullivan activated the fleet-wide communication system, so all her ship captains could hear the conversation. I want to send a message to your government and every other hostile alien species in this region. Humanity is not as weak or unprepared as you thought. She gestured toward the tactical display, showing the positions of her ships. You brought 12 vessels to attack one human exploration ship. We responded with nearly 150 warships that arrived. In minutes, your ion weapons couldn't penetrate our shields. Your communications were jammed before you could coordinate a defense. Your most advanced stealth technology was useless against our sensors. The message is simple, Sullivan continued. Humanity prefers peace, but we are ready for war. Any species that threatens our colonies or attacks our ships will face the full might of the Earth Defense Force. Zektar was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter, less arrogant. What happens to my crews now? That depends on your government's response, Sullivan replied. We're prepared to return your ships and personnel in exchange for a formal non-aggression pact. We want diplomatic relations, not continued conflict. Dr. Amy Collins stepped forward on the bridge of the Discovery. Her role as a science officer had been covered for her real job as a diplomatic attaché. Admiral Zekitarith is willing to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Vorthok Confederacy. We can discuss trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts. Trade agreements? Zektar seemed surprised. You would trade with those you just defeated in battle. Why not? Morrison interjected. Defeating you doesn't make us enemies forever. Some of our closest allies are species we once fought against. The important thing is learning to coexist peacefully. Sullivan nodded in agreement. Admiral Zektar, you have a choice to make. You can return to your government with news of military defeat and promises of revenge, or you can return with an offer of peace and mutual prosperity. Which message do you think will serve your people better? The alien commander looked around at his captured bridge, then at the human marines guarding him. For the first time since the battle began, he seemed to be thinking about something other than military glory. I will consider your offer, he said finally. Good, Sullivan replied. You have until we reach the neutral system of Proxima Station to make your decision. After that, we'll let the diplomats work out the details. The transmission ended, leaving the human fleet in control of the battlefield. But Sullivan knew the real battle was just beginning. The message they sent today would determine whether humanity faced peace or war with dozens of alien species across the galaxy. 3 days after the battle at Kepler 442, the human fleet arrived at Proxima Station. The massive space station hung in the void between star systems, a neutral meeting place where different alien species could conduct diplomacy without fear of attack. Admiral Kate Sullivan had chosen this location carefully for the prisoner exchange. The UAS Valiant docked at the station's main port, while the rest of the fleet maintained position nearby. Sullivan walked through the station's corridors with a small diplomatic team, heading toward the conference room where Admiral Zektar waited. Captain Jake Morrison walked beside her, along with Dr. Amy Collins and Intelligence Officer Danny Foster. Behind them came a squad of Marines, led by Security Chief Kelly Wright. The station's artificial gravity felt strange after days aboard ship, but Sullivan maintained her confident stride. Any word from the Vorthok government? Morrison asked, as they walked. They're sending a diplomatic ship to collect their people, Sullivan replied. But no official response to our peace offer yet. They're probably still trying to figure out how badly we embarrassed their military. Dr. Collins checked her tablet computer. The intelligence data from their ships has been very helpful. We now know the locations of 17 Vorthok military bases and their complete order of battle. If they try to attack us again, we'll be ready. They entered the conference room to find Admiral Zektar sitting at a long table. The alien commander looked tired and defeated. His compound eyes tracked the humans as they took seats across from him. "Admiral Sullivan," Zektar said through the translation device, "I have been in communication with my government. They are not pleased with the results of my mission." "I imagine not," Sullivan replied. "Losing 12 ships without inflicting any significant damage tends to upset military leaders." Zektar's mandibles clicked in what might have been embarrassment. "They want to know how human ships appeared so quickly. Our scientists say it should be impossible to coordinate that many vessels across such distances." Morrison leaned forward. "We've been working on fleet coordination technology for years. When one of our ships sends a distress call, every vessel within 50 light-years knows about it instantly. Response times that used to take days now take minutes." "Your communication networks are that advanced?" Zektar asked. "Among other things," Dr. Collins said with a slight smile. "We've made significant improvements in many areas since we started exploring space. Perhaps your intelligence was a bit out of date." Sullivan placed a document on the table between them. "Admiral, I have here a formal proposal for a non-aggression pact between humanity and the Vorthok Confederacy. Your government can review it, but the terms are simple. No attacks on civilian shipping, no territorial violations, and establishment of formal diplomatic relations." Sektar studied the document carefully. "And in return, we return your ships and crews unharmed," Sullivan said. "We also offer trade agreements and technology sharing in non-military areas. Medical knowledge, agricultural techniques, scientific research, things that benefit both our species." The alien admiral was quiet for several minutes, reading through the proposal. Outside the conference room windows, Sullivan could see the captured Vorthok ships docked nearby. Human technicians were finishing their study of alien technology before returning the vessels to their owners. "There is something I must tell you," Sektar said finally. "The Confederacy was not acting alone in planning attacks on human space. We have allies among other species who also view your expansion with concern." Foster leaned forward with interest. "What other species?" "The crystalline collective from the Vega system, the hive mind of Betelgeuse, several others. We have been meeting in secret, planning coordinated strikes against human colonies." Sullivan felt a chill run down her spine. Multiple alien species working together against humanity was a much more serious threat than one alien government acting alone. "How many species are involved in this alliance?" she asked. 7, including my own," Zektar admitted. "Together, we command over 800 warships. The plan was to strike simultaneously at your most important colonies, hoping to force Earth to abandon expansion into our territories." Morrison whistled softly. 800 ships. That's more than our entire navy. "But now you know about the plan," Zektar continued, "and you have seen what human military technology can accomplish. Perhaps there is a better way forward." Dr. Collins activated her tablet and began taking notes. "Admiro Zekita, would you be willing to serve as an intermediary between humanity and these other species? Help us arrange peaceful negotiations instead of military conflict. You would trust me to do that?" Zektar seemed surprised. "After I led an attack against your people." "You're a military officer following orders," Sullivan said. "I respect that, even if I don't agree with those orders. The question is whether you're willing to help prevent a larger war that could cost millions of lives on both sides." Zektar was silent for a long moment, his compound eyes focusing on something beyond the human's view. Finally, he nodded slowly. "I have seen what your fleet can do. If the other species knew what I know now, they might reconsider their plans." "Good," Sullivan said, "because I have something to show them." She activated a holographic projector in the center of the table. The image showed star charts from across human space, marked with the positions of military bases and fleet deployments. "This is just our 5th Armada," Sullivan explained. "We have 12 armadas spread across human territory, each with similar capabilities. If your alliance attacks our colonies, You won't be facing a few exploration ships. You'll be fighting the largest military force this galaxy has ever seen. Zektar stared at the display in shock. 12 fleets like the one that defeated us. Larger, actually, Morrison said. The 5th Armada is one of our smaller ones. Our 1st and 2nd Armadas are twice this size, stationed near Earth and our most important colonies. But humanity has only been in space for 50 years, Zektar protested. How could you build such massive fleets so quickly? Foster smiled. When humans decide to do something, we tend to do it thoroughly. We've been preparing for the possibility of hostile alien contact since our first ships left the solar system. Sullivan deactivated the hologram and leaned back in her chair. Admiral Zektar, you have a choice to make. You can return to your allies with warnings about human military strength and suggestions for peaceful negotiations. Or you can say nothing and let them launch attacks that will result in their complete destruction. You would really destroy entire alien fleets? Zektar asked. Only if they force us to, Sullivan replied. We prefer diplomacy, but we won't allow our colonies to be attacked. The choice is theirs. 6 hours later, Sullivan stood on the observation deck of Proxima Station, watching the Vorthok ships prepare to leave. Admiral Zektar's flagship was among them, carrying its commander back to face an uncertain reception from his government. Morrison joined her at the windows. Do you think he'll convince them to negotiate instead of fight? I hope so, Sullivan said. But we need to be prepared either way. Foster is already sending intelligence reports to all our fleet commanders. If those 7 species want a war, they'll get one they'll never forget. Dr. Collins approached from behind them. Admiral, I've just received a message from Earth. Fleet Command is authorizing the construction of 5 new armadas. They want us ready for anything. Sullivan nodded with satisfaction. The battle at Kepler 442 had been just the beginning. Word was already spreading across the galaxy about humanity's true military capabilities. Some species would choose peace, others would choose war. Either way, humanity would be ready. Through the station windows, she could see the last Vorthok ship disappearing into hyperspace. In a few days, alien governments across the galaxy would receive reports about what happened when they tried to ambush a human exploration vessel. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer the weak, scattered species that aliens could attack without consequence. Earth's children had grown strong among the stars, and they would defend their new homes with everything they had. The age of human expansion was just beginning, but the galaxy had already learned an important lesson. When you plan an ambush against humanity, you better bring more than 12 ships, because humanity will show up with an armada.